My suitcase did not end up in the hallway by accident. My brother dragged it out. He didn't roll it. He didn't ask. He dragged it by the handle like it was heavy on purpose, bumping it against the doorframe, letting it scrape the wall, and then letting it thud onto the hardwood floor so loud it echoed through the house. The sound felt final, like punctuation, like a period at the end of a sentence. I didn't know I was done speaking. I remember staring at it for a second too long, my brain trying to catch up to what my eyes were seeing. That suitcase had been in my childhood closet since college. It only came out for weddings, funerals, or emergencies. Apparently, today counted. Tyler stood in the doorway like he'd rehearsed this moment. Arms crossed. A type. The posture of someone who thinks they're being brave when they're really just being cruel. Behind him was Lauren, his wife, leaning against the hall wall with her arms folded too, eyes already drifting past me, measuring the room like she was mentally deciding what color she'd paint my room. My childhood room. The one with the dent in the wall from when I learned to throw a softball. The one where I cried after prom. The one where I slept in a chair for weeks after Mom's accident because I couldn't stand being too far from her room at night. Tyler didn't ease into it. He didn't soften the blow. "You're a burden," he said, flat and loud, like he wanted the house to hear it too. "Nobody wants you here anyway. Nobody wants you here." That sentence didn't just land. It detonated. Lauren didn't say a word. She didn't need to. Her silence was louder than his voice. Her eyes flicked from the suitcase to the door, then back to the hallway, already rearranging her future. Crossed arms. Tight smile. The look of someone who'd already won. I felt something hot crawl up my neck. That familiar mix of shame and disbelief people feel right before they start apologizing for things they didn't do. For a split second, the old version of me almost stepped forward. The one who explained. The one who justified her existence. But let me tell you who I actually was in that moment. I was 29 years old. I had been the primary caregiver for our mother for 9 months after a car accident shattered her hip and left her unable to walk without help. I handled overnight emergencies. I learned how to manage medications I couldn't pronounce. I took her to physical therapy appointments 3 times a week. I cooked, cleaned. I slept in 4-hour stretches and worked remotely in between, laptop balanced on my knees while she slept in the next room. I paid my own bills. Paid for my own food. I paid with my time, my energy, my health. But in Tyler's version of reality, I was a freeloader taking up space he felt entitled to reclaim. "You've been here long enough," he continued, emboldened now, voice sharper. "Lauren and I are starting a family. We need the room." Need. As if my presence was optional. As if caregiving was a hobby I picked up to inconvenience them. I looked past him, down the hallway, toward Mom's closed bedroom door. She was asleep. Exhausted from physical therapy. Unaware that while she healed, the house she thought was still a home was quietly being divided up like property. That's the part that still makes my hands shake when I think about it. They chose this moment. While she couldn't stand up for herself. While I had been standing in for her. Lauren finally spoke, her voice calm and calculated. "It's not personal, Rachel. It's just time for you to move on. Move on. From caregiving. From family. From being useful." Something snapped, not loudly, not dramatically, but cleanly, like a switch flipping. That was the moment I stopped being convenient. Stopped being quiet. Stopped being polite. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I didn't beg. I bent down, zipped the suitcase Tyler had packed for me like this was already settled, and lifted it myself. It felt lighter than it should have, which terrified me more than the weight ever could. Because that's when I realized something. They thought this was the end of me. They thought removing me from the house removed the problem. They had no idea it was the first move they'd made in a game they didn't even know they were playing. And if you've ever been treated like an extra piece of luggage in your own family, something to drag out when it's inconvenient, stay with me. Because walking out of that room wasn't the end of my story. It was the beginning of tearing apart the perfect little life they thought they had built. Looking back, that moment in the hallway did not come out of nowhere. It was just the first time my brother stopped pretending. When Mom first came home from the hospital, Tyler and Lauren were perfect. Almost suspiciously so. They showed up with smiles that lingered a second too long and voices coated in concern. The kind of concern that sounds generous but keeps score. The first few weeks felt like relief. They brought takeout from Mom's favorite diner, the one she used to drive us to when we were kids, back when her legs didn't shake and she didn't wince getting out of a chair. Lauren handed me iced coffee like it was a peace offering. Tyler carried in grocery bags, pointing out the yellow discount stickers like proof of his sacrifice. "Everything was on sale," he'd say proudly, like he was saving the family single-handedly, and I was grateful. God, I was grateful. When you're running on broken sleep and adrenaline, you don't question kindness. You cling to it. Weeks 1 through 3 were the helpful phase. That's what I call it now. But even then, little things felt off. Tyler started lingering by the mail. Not opening anything outright, just thumbing through envelopes a beat too long. Bank logos, insurance headers. He'd pause, eyebrows lifting slightly, before casually dropping the stack on the counter like nothing happened. Lauren developed a sudden interest in Mom's prescriptions. "Wow," she'd say, holding the receipt, voice light. "These are expensive. Does insurance cover most of this? Or is it all out of pocket?" The questions were always framed as concern. Always innocent. Always just enough to make you answer instead of accuse. Then came the comments. "Must be nice," Lauren said one afternoon, sipping her coffee, eyes flicking around the kitchen. "Living here rent-free. You must be saving so much money while everyone else is out there struggling." She smiled when she said it, like a joke. Like I was supposed to laugh. That's the thing about microaggressions inside families. They're small enough to deny, sharp enough to wound. If you react, you're sensitive. If you don't, they keep coming. Tyler escalated next. "You're almost 30, RA," he said one night, leaning against the counter like he was delivering wisdom. "At some point, you've got to stand on your own 2 feet. I remember blinking at him, genuinely confused. Had a job, paid my bills. I had put my life on pause to keep our mother alive and functional. But he said it with that tone, the tough love tone, the one society respects, the one that makes sacrifice invisible and turns caregiving into dependence. That's how gaslighting works. Doesn't deny reality outright. It reframes it. The day everything boiled over wasn't dramatic at first. It was ordinary, painfully so. Mom was in the living room doing physical therapy exercises. The kind that look simple until you try them with a shattered hip. I was kneeling beside her, counting quietly, helping her lift her leg inch by inch while sweat beaded at her hairline. Her jaw was clenched so tight I could see the muscles jumping. She was trying not to cry. That's when the front door opened. Tyler and Lauren walked in with lunch bags, laughing about traffic. They barely glanced at Mom struggling on the mat. "Oh hey," Tyler said like we were interrupting them. Something shifted in the air. The warmth disappeared. Their voices changed. Businesslike. Focused. "We've been talking," Tyler said, setting the food down without offering it. "And we think it might make sense for us to move in for a while." Lauren nodded. "Just to help out." Help out. Those words again. "It would take a lot off your plate, RA," Tyler added. If you let us. If you let us." Conditional. Transactional. Lauren gestured vaguely down the hallway. "Obviously, we'd need the space that actually makes sense. My room." "She could set up in the smaller room," Lauren continued, not even looking at me now. "Or maybe get a place nearby once she gets back on her feet." Get back on her feet. Like I was the one recovering. Like I was the one broken. That I looked at Mom. Her hands were shaking. One tear slipped down her cheek, slow and silent. She didn't say anything. She couldn't. She was trapped between her children, and Tyler knew it. That's when the mask finally dropped. "You're a burden, Rachel," Tyler said, irritation breaking through. "You're not the hero here. You're just in the way." "In the way?" Lauren crossed her arms. "Nobody really wants you stuck here. They just don't know how to say it." That sentence did what all the others were designed to do. It isolated me. Turned me into the problem. Made my presence feel like an imposition instead of a sacrifice. I understood it then, with terrifying clarity. This was not about helping. This was about taking. They wanted the house, equity, the control. And I was standing right in the middle of their plan, so they rewrote the story. Made me the freeloader. Failure. The obstacle as they talked over me. Planning, rearranging, deciding. I realized something chilling. In their minds, I was already gone. And that realization, that was what finally set everything in motion. I did not argue with them that day. That was the part that seemed to confuse everyone later. There was no screaming match. No dramatic ultimatum. No slammed doors. He nodded. I said very little. I let the silence stretch just long enough to make them uncomfortable. Then I picked up my phone and walked into my room. I gave myself 30 seconds to sit on the edge of the bed, feel the burn behind my eyes, let the humiliation wash through me like a fever. 30 seconds to grieve the version of my family I had been protecting with my silence. Then I opened my laptop, because arguing with people like Tyler doesn't change outcomes. Just gives them more material to twist. What changes outcomes is space. Leverage. Evidence. Within 10 minutes, I had booked a basement Airbnb 10 minutes away. 1 month lease. Quiet. Close enough that I could get to Mom in under 15 minutes if she fell or panicked in the night. Far enough that Tyler and Lauren would finally relax. That was the key. People only reveal their intentions once they think the obstacle is gone. The place wasn't glamorous. Low ceilings. One small window at ground level. A couch that smelled faintly like cleaning spray and old fabric. But it had a locking door, reliable Wi-Fi, and, most importantly, distance. The fake retreat to them, it looked like surrender. To me, it was a chess move. Before I left, I made one more play. And this one was subtle. I waited until Dad came home from work. He looked exhausted. Tie loosened, eyes heavy with worry he never admitted out loud. He asked how Mom was. I answered honestly. Then I planted the seed. What if we put a couple cameras in the house? I said carefully. Just in the living room and hallway. Nothing invasive. You could check on Mom from your phone on your lunch break. It might give you peace of mind. I watched his shoulders drop. Really? He asked. You can do that. He nodded. A lot of families do. Falls happen fast. This way, someone's always watching. He smiled. Actually smiled. Relief, not suspicion. We installed them that weekend. Living room, wide angle, catches voices, body language, the couch where family meetings happen. Hallway outside Mom's bedroom. Foot traffic, late night conversations, doorways. Kitchen, counter view, paperwork, laptops, signing surfaces. I synced everything to my phone. And Dad's. Consent matters. Legality matters. Coverage matters. Then I added the second layer. Months earlier, Tyler had insisted on helping Dad set up autopay for bills. He'd framed it as efficiency, as concern. I had watched him type in passwords with the confidence of someone planting a flag. Now I used that same access. I activated banking alerts. Texts for large withdrawals. Emails for new payees. Push notifications for loan applications. Credit inquiry alerts. Every digital tripwire available. The final piece was almost laughably easy. Dad kept the router password taped inside a filing cabinet. Same place it had been for years. Same password he'd used for everything since 2009. I logged into the admin panel. Device history. Login timestamps. Connected users. Websites accessed. Names popped up I didn't recognize. Login times that didn't match Dad's work schedule. Late night activity. Financial sites. Property searches. I didn't touch anything. I didn't block anyone. I just watched. That's the part people don't understand about strategy. You don't interrupt your enemy while they're making mistakes. The day I left, I hugged Mom carefully like she might shatter. I am not abandoning you, I whispered. I'll be here every day. I'll still manage your appointments. Nothing changes where it matters. She nodded, tears soaking into my shoulder. She didn't ask questions. I was grateful for that. Tyler walked me to the door, smugness barely contained. No hard feelings, he said, like he was granting me closure. Sometimes you have to make tough choices for the good of the family. You know. I looked him in the eye and smiled softly. "You're right," I said. "For the good of the family." He heard surrender. What I meant was protection. I loaded my suitcase into the trunk. The same suitcase he'd dragged into the hallway days earlier like a verdict. This time I lifted it myself. Then I drove away. Not because they had one, but because I needed one thing more than my childhood room. I needed distance. Distance to watch. Distance to listen. Distance to see exactly what my brother and his perfect little wife were going to do once they thought I was finally out of the way. The first night in the basement Airbnb was too quiet, no creaking upstairs. No mom calling my name because she couldn't find her water. No dishwasher humming in the next room at midnight. Just the low buzz of the mini fridge and the glow of my laptop reflecting back at me like a mirror. That silence wasn't peaceful. It was surgical. I opened the camera app the way someone opens a TV show they never wanted to be cast in. My hands were steady, which surprised me. My chest wasn't. It felt like everything I'd swallowed over the last 9 months was finally rising. The living room feed loaded first. Mom was asleep in her recliner, head tilted at an awkward angle, blanket slipping off her shoulder. The TV was still on, some brightly lit game show looping applause tracks. Dad paced in his work boots, phone pressed to his ear, voice low and tired. Normal. Domestic. Almost comforting. Then the front door camera caught movement. Tyler and Lauren walked in, laughing about something on Lauren's phone. Her voice was lighter than I'd heard it in weeks. Tyler kicked off his shoes, already relaxed, already home. And that's when everything changed. Tyler dropped onto the couch like a man collapsing under weight he could no longer hold. He scrubbed his face with both hands and let out a sound that wasn't quite a sigh. "They're actually going to take it," he said. Lauren stopped scrolling. "Take what?" "The house," Tyler replied. "Foreclosure notice came yesterday." The word hung in the air. Heavy. Final. Lauren's head snapped up. "I thought you said you were handling it." Tyler laughed once, sharp and humorless. "I was. Until I wasn't." He leaned forward, elbows on knees, voice dropping. "I lost my job, Lauren. They cut half the department. I've been juggling minimum payments and betting slips for months. The games were supposed to fix it. I just needed one good streak. Betting slips." My stomach turned cold. Lauren didn't comfort him. She didn't ask if he was okay. She stood up and started pacing, camera catching her reflection in the dark TV screen. "We cannot go back to some crappy apartment," she snapped. "I have sponsorship deals. People expect a certain lifestyle. No one follows a broke girl making instant ramen in the dark." There it was. Image over integrity. Brand over blood. Tyler rubbed his hands together, thinking. Calculating. "Your parents have equity," he said slowly. "They have savings. If we refinance the house, take out a line of credit, we can get caught up and start over." "Your parents." "Not our parents." Lauren stopped pacing. "How fast? If we move money around fast enough." She tilted her head. "And your mom?" "We get Karen to sign a few things," Tyler replied. "Set it up under her name. No one has to know until everything's fixed." "Karen." "Not Mom." Lauren hesitated for half a second. Then, "We already tried once, remember? They flagged it. Because of a stupid mismatch," Tyler said quickly. "We try again when Dad's on a double shift. Rachel's gone now. No one's hovering. We tell her it's paperwork for therapy billing. Just signs. We solve this." Solve this. That I felt something in my chest crack. Not loud, not dramatic, but irreversible. This wasn't desperation. This was a plan. And then my phone buzzed, a banking alert. Attempted new credit application pending review requested under Karen's name. Timestamp. 15 minutes ago. The room spun. I checked the router dashboard. Loan sites. Credit card offers. Gambling platforms. All logged under PC03. Tyler's device. Not days. Not weeks. Months. This wasn't a mistake spiraling out of control. It was a pattern. A slow, deliberate bleed. The next morning I didn't sleep. I watched. The hallway camera caught Mom shuffling out with her walker, hair still messy from sleep. Tyler appeared on one side, Lauren on the other, flanking her like security. They sat her at the kitchen table, papers already laid out, pens positioned perfectly. "Just sign here, Mom," Tyler said gently. "It's for your coverage. Makes the therapy cheaper." Mom squinted at the pages. Her hand hovered over the pen. It shook them. My phone buzzed again. Fraud alert. I stood up so fast my chair tipped over. Watching was not enough anymore. If I waited one more day, one more hour, they would get exactly what they wanted from her trembling signature. I was done being the quiet one in the corner. It was time to turn what I had seen into something that could actually stop them. I drove straight to the bank before I went anywhere near the house. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel. Not from fear this time, but from how close Tyler had come to getting exactly what he wanted. One distracted afternoon. One tired signature. One lie wrapped in help. I didn't walk up to a teller. I asked for fraud prevention. Those words mattered. They shifted the tone immediately. A small conference room. A woman in her 50s with calm eyes and a notepad. Someone who had seen this before. I didn't talk about betrayal. I didn't talk about childhood dynamics or sibling resentment. I laid out facts. Email alerts. Timestamps. Screenshots of credit inquiries. A printed still from the camera footage. Tyler's mouth mid-sentence. Lauren pacing behind him. The foreclosure notice. The banker's face changed as she read. "There have been several inquiries in a short period," she said carefully. "Some were blocked by our system. But you are right to be concerned." Those words hit harder than anything Tyler had said. They flagged every account in my parents' names. New verification protocols. In-person confirmation required for any loans or credit. Phone applications blocked entirely. Nothing moved without someone physically standing at a desk with ID. Before I left, she slid a pamphlet across the table. Financial exploitation of older adults. There it was. A name for it. Category. Something serious enough to be printed, studied, tracked. I sat in the parking lot afterward and called the elder abuse hotline. The counselor didn't hesitate. "You're doing the right thing," she said. "What you're describing is financial exploitation. Because your mother is recovering from a serious injury, this could qualify as abuse of a vulnerable adult." She gave me a number for a specialized attorney. Told me to call immediately. Angela Kim answered on the second ring. She was in her 40s, sharp, direct, diplomas from schools I recognized lining the wall behind her when we video called. Elder exploitation was her specialty. She didn't flinch when I shared the footage. "This is serious," she said. "Your brother and his wife are attempting to obtain assets through deception. That meets the legal threshold." My chest felt tight. But there was relief too. Someone else was finally saying it out loud. We moved fast. Temporary guardianship. Not permanent, just enough to block paperwork until Mom fully recovered. Official reports filed with Adult Protective Services and local law enforcement. An emergency petition submitted electronically. "You need to protect your parents without tipping your brother off," Angela warned. "Let him keep thinking he's in control." That night, I bought a sturdy folder with dividers. Labeled it evidence in block letters. Inside went everything. Bank alerts, camera transcripts, router logs, printed emails, dates, times, cross-referenced. Then I went home. Dad was at the kitchen table, cold coffee in front of him, staring at nothing. I told him I was fixing something. He nodded, too tired to question. I showed him enough. Not every ugly word. Not every betrayal. Just the facts. Using house equity without permission. Getting Mom to sign documents. Needing me gone to avoid detection. "That is my son," Dad whispered. It sounded like he was talking to himself. Mom looked at me, eyes wide. "Is this real?" I wanted to lie. To soften it. But that's what had gotten us here. "Yes, Mom," I said. "It's real. We locked down everything, wills, deed, insurance, tax returns. New keys. New passwords. Two-factor authentication. I spent an hour teaching Mom how to read verification codes, her hands shaking but determined. By sunset, the house felt different. Less like a target. More like a fortress. Angela called again that night. Next step is a family meeting, she said. Make it sound like what they've been pretending to want. Let them walk into it. Dad nodded. Your brother started this, he said quietly. It's time he answers for it. And for the first time since Tyler kicked my suitcase into the hallway, I felt something new. I felt ready. Saturday afternoon. The house looked like it always did before a holiday. Except no one was smiling. The curtains were half open, letting in that soft, indecisive light that made everything feel suspended. The coffee table was cleared like it was expecting guests. The air smelled faintly of detergent and old wood. Familiar. Almost comforting. Almost a lie. Mom sat in her recliner wearing a soft blue sweater. Hair brushed, back straight. Dignified. Dad was in his armchair. Jaw locked so tight I could see the muscle jumping in his cheek. Controlled rage. Angela sat on the couch, legal pad balanced on her knee. Glasses on, pen resting but ready. Authority, quiet and immovable. I stood near the hallway, exactly where I wanted to be. Not hidden. Not centered. Watching everything. The front door burst open. Tyler and Lauren came in loud, laughing about parking, Lauren complaining about traffic like the world still revolved around minor inconveniences. Tyler kicked off his shoes, already mid-sentence, already assuming the room belonged to him. Then he saw Angela, his smile flickered. Just for a second. What is this? He asked, laugh thinning. I thought this was a family meeting. It is, Dad said, voice low. This is our attorney. Sit down. The room shifted. Chairs scrape. Lauren hesitated, then sat. Tyler stayed standing a beat too long, eyes darting, calculating, before dropping onto the couch. I picked up the remote. The TV turned on. Not a sitcom. Not the news. Tyler stared back at himself on the screen, sitting at the same coffee table days earlier, foreclosure letter in hand. What is that? He asked quietly. His face drained of color. Security footage, Angela said calmly. Cameras installed in the common areas of the home for your mother's safety. She looked at Mom. With your consent. Mom nodded. Once. Firm. The audio played. Foreclosure notice. They are actually going to take it. Your parents have equity. They have savings. If we get Karen to sign a few things, set it up a loan under her name, no one has to know. Tyler lunged for the remote. Dad stood up so fast his chair tipped back. Sit. Down, Dad said. Lauren jumped in, voice sharp. That is out of context. We were just talking. Brainstorming. Everyone borrows from family. It is not a crime to talk. Angela slid a stack of papers across the table. Clean. Precise. Highlighted. The problem is not talking, she said. The problem is attempted credit applications already submitted to the bank, multiple inquiries for new lines of credit in Karen's name, and unauthorized access to their accounts. Tyler spun on me. You went through my stuff. You had no right. I went through my parents' accounts, I said evenly. The ones you asked access to under the pretense of helping them. The bank flagged fraudulent activity. I took one step forward. And for the record, these cameras are in their house, not yours. You walked into their space and planned how to use their names to fix your mess. Dad's voice broke. How could you? He asked. That is your mother. That is this house we worked our whole lives for. Tyler's face crumpled into something ugly. Desperate. Defensive. I was going to pay it back, he snapped. We are drowning, Dad. You have no idea. I lost my job. The condo is gone. The credit cards are maxed. I was trying to fix it. Mom spoke then. Quiet. Clear. By gambling with our future. The room went dead still. Angela opened her folder. Your parents have filed for temporary guardianship assistance, she said. A judge will decide, but in the meantime, the bank has locked the accounts. Adult Protective Services has been notified. Tyler shot to his feet. You did this, he yelled at me. You're trying to control everything. Make me look like a criminal. You did that yourself, I said. You called me a burden and pushed me out so you could work unchecked. All I did was stop being convenient. Lauren stood up, panic breaking through her polish. This is insane. If anyone hears about this, my brand is ruined. Angela didn't blink. If this continues, your brand will be the least of your concerns. Financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult is a crime. Intent matters. Pattern matters. And we have both. The knock came then, sharp. Official .2 uniformed officers and one plainclothes detective stepped inside. Good afternoon, one said. We're here regarding a report of possible financial abuse. Tyler turned toward me like he might lunge. The officer stepped forward, hand out. Sir, we just want to ask some questions. This can happen here or at the station. But it will happen. The detective asked calmly about account access, loan applications, gambling sites, foreclosure notices. Tyler lied. And every lie was met with a printout, a screenshot, a video clip. Lauren claimed ignorance. I only signed what he told me was safe. The detective wrote that down too. Finally, the officer nodded. Sir, we're going to need you to come with us. Tyler stared. You're arresting me for trying to help my family. We are detaining you for questioning regarding suspected financial exploitation, the officer said. You'll have the opportunity to contact an attorney. Lauren collapsed into real tears. Not performative. Not prettied. As they cuffed Tyler, he looked straight at me. You did this, he said. Remember that. I met his eyes. No. You did this when you decided Mom was a solution instead of a person. The door closed behind them with a soft click. Louder than any slam. The house exhaled. Mom shook, tears falling, but her eyes were steady for the first time in months. Dad turned to me, voice breaking. I'm so sorry, he said. You shouldn't have had to stop him. I'm just glad we caught it in time, I replied. Angela gathered her things. This isn't over, she warned gently. But you drew a line. That's the hardest part. Later I walked back into my old bedroom. Tyler and Lauren's half-unpacked boxes sat against the wall. I packed them up. Not out of spite. Just to clear space, I sat on the bed. The same spot where I'd been called a burden. For the first time in a long time, this room, this house, this family was not something my brother could rearrange to suit himself. And that, more than watching him walk out in handcuffs, was the moment justice finally felt real. 5 months later, the story did not end with a bang. It ended with paperwork. Once the investigation expanded, everything unraveled quickly. Tyler's accounts, emails, and browser history were pulled. Contact lists from his old job were cross-checked. Patterns emerged that had nothing to do with panic or bad luck. Coworkers who had loaned him money that was never repaid. Clients quietly steered toward fake investment opportunities. Credit cards opened, maxed out, abandoned. This wasn't a single bad decision made under pressure. It was a lifestyle built on other people's trust. The trial itself was almost painfully ordinary. No shouting. No dramatic speeches. Tyler sat at the defense table in an ill-fitting suit, shoulders hunched, eyes down. The evidence stacked up faster than his lawyer could object. Bank records, signed statements, camera footage, digital trails that didn't care about excuses. T1 point. His attorney leaned in and whispered something. Tyler nodded once. That a plea deal. He admitted to financial fraud. He admitted to exploiting a vulnerable adult. 10 years. When the sentence was read, I didn't feel triumph. I didn't feel victory. I sat between my parents, holding my mom's hand, feeling a strange mix of grief and grim relief settle into my bones. This was my brother. But it was also the man who had looked at our mother and seen a solution to his debt instead of a human being. Both things were true. Lauren wasn't criminally charged, but consequences don't always need courtrooms to be real. The investigation exposed her debts. The condo went into foreclosure. The car was repossessed. Sponsorships disappeared almost overnight. Brands run from scandal faster than they ever run toward loyalty. A few weeks later, I saw her at a cafe near my office, hair pulled back. No makeup. An apron tied around her waist. She asked if I wanted cream or sugar without recognizing me at first. Then her eyes lifted. For half a second, we made eye contact. She looked away. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt finished. Not long after that, I was asked to speak, anonymously, on a podcast about financial abuse. I said yes, not because I wanted more drama, but because I kept thinking about how close we had come to losing everything, and how many families never see it coming at all. I told the story from the beginning. The suitcase in the hallway. The word burden. The cameras. The bank alerts. And the lesson that mattered most. How easy it is to confuse keeping the peace with keeping quiet. How people like Tyler count on the rest of us not wanting to make things awkward. Not wanting to be the one who says, "This isn't right." After the episode aired, messages poured in. Strangers telling me their own versions of the same story. Different names. Same patterns. Same silence. Home. Healing looked quieter. Mom's therapy started paying off. By summer, she moved from the recliner to the porch with just a cane. The day she walked there by herself, she cried. Not from pain, but from pride. Dad cut back his hours. The constant tension left his shoulders. No more chasing money that kept disappearing. No more pretending everything was fine. One Sunday, we had a picnic at the park. Mom insisted on walking to the bench on her own. Kids ran past us. Dogs pulled at leashes. Life moved forward. Dad looked at me and said, "If you had stayed quiet, we would have lost everything and called it bad luck. Instead, we lost a son we thought we knew, and found out who you really are." I squeezed his hand. No words were needed. People like to talk about forgiveness as if it's the only respectable ending. But the truth is, sometimes the most loving thing you can do is draw a line and refuse to let someone cross it again. I will never be the convenient one in the corner again. The one who swallows hurt so other people can stay comfortable. And if there's one thing I hope this story leaves behind, it's this. Do not wait until someone calls you a burden to start protecting yourself and the people who depend on you. Trust is a gift, not a blank check. And the moment someone tries to cash it in at your expense, you are allowed to say no. Stories shared by Revenge Red are fully fictional, created to highlight real-world lessons and positive values. Themes of family, respect, self-worth, and accountability are meant to educate and empower. This story reflects the importance of recognizing financial abuse, setting healthy boundaries, protecting vulnerable family members, and choosing calm, legal action over silence or harm. Rachel's legacy isn't revenge. It's courage. It's self-respect. And it's the power of finally speaking up.